Welcome to our Monday edition of Facebook Live. Today is the online recovery support group or addiction recovery support group. So, welcome. This group is supported by the Sandhills Opioid Response Consortium, and this is a forum where people in recovery can come together. We are here to encourage and support individuals in their recovery journey by sharing our own experience, strength, and hope. Our meetings consist of daily readings, meditations, devotionals, as well as open discussions. We only ask that when sharing, you adhere to the rules and guidelines of the page. All recovery paths are welcome. Please feel free to share your questions or concerns or comments throughout the meeting by typing it into the comments. So, welcome. And today I thought we would talk about the 10 basic principles of recovery. So I printed off some the basic ones, and then I'll just make comments about each one as we go. So long-lasting success in recovery is much more than attending therapy sessions or other recovery-related activities. The American Psychological Association has identified 10 basic principles that must be incorporated into one's recovery in order to maximize chances for success. And these are the basic principles across the board. There's guiding principles and there is components of recovery, but we're going to talk about the principles today. So, and my name's Kelly Kirk. My name's Kelly Kirk. I'm in recovery. It'll be 6 years in September. So, I know how it is. I've been there. Had problems with addictions for years and years, and I was finally able to break free and start my own recovery journey about 6 years ago. So this stuff is important. There's a lot of people out there that are struggling, and with the COVID-19, the peer supports, we all wanted to come on here and do a Facebook Live event where people could come on and interact with us or find support, because a lot of times, nowadays with everything going on, there's not a lot of support. You can't just go to meetings like you used to. And so people are stuck at home. And so we wanted to have a way to, interact with people. So hopefully some people will come on. If not, maybe they'll watch this later. So anyway, so the first one is self-direction. Clients choose their own path to recovery. So self-direction, it means that you get to decide what recovery means to you. And to me, recovery means that I'm living a happy, productive life without the need to misuse substances, where I'm continually changing and growing and learning, the whole time. It's not something that ever will end for me. It's a constant journey that I'll be on, where, as I go along, I'll become better and better. And I have a long way to go. I'm not where I was when I started, but at least I'm not, how I was before. At least I'm moving forward. And so that's kind of how I keep going, is knowing that I'm moving forward and taking steps to better myself all the time. So, self direction basically means that you get to decide what your recovery looks like. The second one is that it's individualized or person centered. So, to me, that means, well, there are many pathways to recovery, and everybody's is unique, and it's everyone's addiction affected them differently, and everyone's past has made them into who they are now. So no two people are the same. Um, it's going to depend on your unique strengths, your personal preferences, your cultural background, and a lot of other factors. Hi, Stephanie. So everyone is different, and everyone's addiction affects them differently. And so recovery needs to be a good fit for you personally. Your recovery should be individualized and centered on you as a person. And recovery should be treating the ideally should be treating the whole person and not just the addiction itself. You've got a lot of aspects to being a human. You've got, your emotional, your spiritual, your physical, your psychological. There's a lot of different complicated, as everybody knows, aspects of being a human. And so the recovery needs to be person centered. It needs to be centered on the person in recovery and individualized to their needs. There's no one size fits all recovery. I think a long time ago, everyone thought that everyone needed to have the same path and it needed to be like cookie cutter, but that's not how it is now. People are realizing that everybody's different and that there can be more than one way to recover. So the third one is empowerment. Individuals can be actively involved in the decision making process of their recovery. So empowerment is really important because you're not going to be successful at anything if you don't feel empowered. And you should be the one that decides what's best for you personally. And, when you make your own decisions about your life, that is empowerment. So it's okay also to speak up or ask for help. That's, I think, for me, that's all tied into empowerment. Feeling empowered to reach out for help or feeling empowered by things that you've done that you're proud of. And your decision making process, that's all empowerment. You're empowered to decide for yourself, reach out for help when you need to, and recognize when you've met your goals. Okay, so the fourth one is holistic. Recovery should focus on a person's mind, body, and spirit, not just the mental illness or addiction itself. Holistic. And I think, to me, that's what I think. I think it needs to mean that you're treating the person as a whole. You need to think about your whole lifestyle and not just your addiction. Like I've talked about this before, but for me, that's a big one because in the past, when I would try to, stop using, or I would go to rehab or detox or programs, I wouldn't change anything else about my life. And it didn't click with me that I needed to make changes to my whole person. I needed to have a holistic approach to it. And I think that's why this time I've been good for so long, is that I've realized that I do need to be holistic. I do need to treat the whole person and think about my entire lifestyle and make changes to a lot of different things, not just stop using. Because in my experience, if you try to just stop using, you're not going to be successful because everything else in your life is the exact same way. And the only thing that's going to be different is you're not using. So it won't be long before you start using again. Um, Non-linear. Recovery is based on growth and learning and is considered a continuous process rather than a step by step one. So to me, non-linear is saying to me that recovery is a lifelong journey and it is based on your personal growth. Some people kind of move along slower and some people move forward in leaps and bounds and really like change a lot real quick. But some other people are more slow, or it takes them a little longer to move down that line of recovery. And so, with it being a lifelong journey, I feel like it's never over, it's never complete. You're constantly changing and reevaluating yourself. At least I am. Like for me, I tend to work on one thing at a time. And I've noticed that I'll realize that I need to change other things about myself as time goes on. Maybe things I hadn't noticed before. And I think some of it has to do with the fact that, as your mind clears, you start to see yourself more clearly, or you start to, you break some of those stereotypes of how you saw yourself, and you realize that you're not just an addict. You are a person with feelings and needs and behaviors that you've learned. And a lot of times, some of those wrong behaviors are holding you back, and you're not going to change them until you see them and you realize that you do need to change things. And I think that's an awesome thing about recovery, is that as you grow and change, you notice more things that need to be changed, and you can kind of address those things as they come up. And I think that makes people in recovery a lot different than normal people, because there's a lot of normal people that think that they're perfect just the way they are, and they don't need to change, or they shouldn't have to change. When someone in recovery is going to be open to change, and they're going to be willing to look at themselves honestly and grow because of it. And so people in recovery, I think, have an advantage, and that's that they're open to change, and they're constantly reevaluating themselves and learning and becoming wiser. And not that other people aren't becoming wiser, but I feel like people in recovery are open to that because they're in the process of changing and morphing into someone better and growing all the time. So nonlinear, I think that all ties into that. Um, the next one is strengths based. Client strengths are built during recovery. You have to focus on the good and embrace your strengths. So I think that's important, because it's important to be positive, and you have strengths and weaknesses. And if you're focused on your weaknesses, you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to get stuck because it's going to bring you down. You're focused on what you're not doing, or what you're not good at, or what you can't do. But if you focus on your strengths, that's positive, that's going to make you happy, that's looking on the bright side and taking whatever strengths you have. Whether, if you have a good family that supports you, that's a strength. Or if you feel like you're resilient, you're a survivor, that's a strength. Anything that's something good about you, or something good about your environment, is a strength. And once you recognize that you have strengths, then you can build on those strengths and lean on those strengths to get more strengths. And then you can kind of, once you're rooted in your strengths, you can take an honest look at your weaknesses and start to kind of tackle those one at a time. But being rooted in your strengths, I think, is a key component to recovery. The next one is peer support. And of course, there are people that are peer support specialists. And then there are just regular peer support, like people that that are supportive of you. People can get to know and depend on others for social support. Having someone to talk to, and someone supporting you that is non judgmental and that cares about you and wants you to succeed, is priceless. So I feel like that's really important for me, to have people in my life that want me to do good, people that are happy when I'm happy, and that are going to help me through hard times. I think it's important for everybody, not just people in recovery. I think it's important for everybody to have peer support, in that they have people around them that support them. It's really impossible to do recovery on your own. You've got to have people that you can lean on and trust in to help you, along the way. So I think that's really important. The next one is respect. Acceptance and appreciation by society, members of the community, and healthcare services is critical to a person's recovery. Respect. That is a little tricky, I think, sometimes with recovery because there's always been such a bad negative emphasis on addiction that people tend to not respect that. Um, but I think the more people come out that are in recovery, that are setting a good example for others, that are showing that it can be done, that recovery is possible, and that people do recover, I think that's helping the whole cause, rather than just showing somebody that's really down on their luck or someone that got arrested and tying that into addiction. That gives you a negative connotation about it. But the more people that come out and show that it can be done and that, hey, I'm doing it, that helps a lot with um, the members of the community and acceptance and appreciation. And I think probably what they're talking about more here is that people deserve respect. People in recovery deserve respect, just like everyone else. And when they're accepted and appreciated by society, that is a good factor that they can count on their side in their recovery. And the last one is, no, there's two more. Responsibility. Individuals are responsible for their own recovery process and progress. Yeah, you are responsible for yourself. And you're responsible for the decisions you make, and you're responsible for your actions, whether they're good or bad. For me, I feel like, we all mess up, and you're not always going to do the right thing. For me, I try to do what I think is best at the time. But even when I'm wrong, I try to take responsibility for that. And I didn't always do that. I used to blame people a lot, or blame, as long as the blame wasn't on me, I would be blaming everybody else, or my parents, or this person, or the doctor, or whoever it was. So, yeah, I think it's really important to take responsibility. And that is a foundational thing in recovery, because when you take responsibility for your own actions, then you're owning it and you're taking it onto yourself, and you can learn from that. And I think that helps people grow up a lot when they start taking responsibility for themselves. And it can be a good thing, when you start doing well in recovery, take responsibility for that too. Like, own your successes. Okay, the last thing is hope, which I think this is the best thing. The overall message of recovery is hope for a better future by overcoming one's obstacles. I think for me, hope can sometimes be the one thing that keeps you going, you know? And I looked up the definition of hope, and it is the confident expectation of something good. So I feel like if you have hope, then you have a future. And it's when you don't have hope that things can look really bleak. And hope is tied into recovery because you have the hope that you're going to be whole again, and that you're going to be living a successful life, and that you're going to be happy. And without hope, I mean, what do you have? You got to have hope in something. So I think that's really important. So those were the 10 basic principles of recovery. And the other thing I was going to share today is in my book by Joyce Myers, The Power of Being Thankful. It's like a devotional every day. There's something, and I'm not going to get religious on you or anything, but I thought this was cool. It talks about goals, and It says many people never accomplish their goals because they do not know how to set them. A popular and easy to remember acronym that has been successful in helping countless people reach their goals is the word SMART. And that stands for S for specific, M for measurable, A for attainable, R for realistic, and T for timely. So, specific. Make sure your goal is as specific as possible. I think it's important in recovery to have goals, and it's really important to be set goals that you can achieve. And I think to do that, you have to be really clear with yourself about what your goal is exactly. And so I like this SMART acronym because if you follow all of these things they're pointing out, you're going to have a really good goal for yourself. So, being specific, you need to make sure your goal is very specific so you know what exactly it is. Don't be vague, like be specific. And the second one is measurable. Goals that are hard to measure are goals that are hard to meet. So, yeah, if you have like this ginormous goal that's like really hard to get to and you can't even see how you're progressing towards your goal, if there's a way to measure it, then you can kind of see your progress, and that will help you, gain some traction and start to gradually get to your goal, and you can see how far you're coming. So the third one is attainable. Make sure the goal itself is reachable. That's really important. You want to have goals that are reachable. And then R is for realistic. It's important to dream big dreams, but aim high. I'm sorry, hold on. It's important to dream big dreams and aim high, but don't set yourself up for disappointment by trying to reach an unrealistic goal. Yeah, I've done that before. You set like this really big goal, and it's just like so hard to do that you don't even end up getting started because it's like not realistic. Okay, and the last one is timely. People who set goals without target completion dates rarely accomplish their objectives. That makes sense to me. I mean, you kind of have to know, how long is this goal going to take me to reach? If you don't have kind of like an idea of when you'll be done with your goal, then it can be overwhelming. But if you have a timely idea of when you should be done, then you can kind of keep up with that. So, yeah, so I like that SMART. I think that's really a good way to measure your goals and make sure that your goals are realistic and achievable. So, that is about all I have for today. Thank you, Stephanie, for joining me on here and supporting me. I really appreciate it. And I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you.